NBC News has confirmed President Biden will now allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia with long-range missiles. This marks a significant policy shift, and it comes after Biden officials condemned the North Korean deployment of troops to Russia as a possible expansion of the war.
At least 10 people have been killed in Ukraine in what is being described as the biggest Russian attack in several months. More than 200 drones and missiles were used to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure overnight, according to President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukraine is now braced for more attacks on the power grid, with winter approaching.
Now to the new developments in the war in Ukraine. Overnight, Russia launching a massive drone attack targeting power plants across Ukraine. Ukraine says at least 5 people were killed. Many are without power as freezing temperatures grip the country. Hours after the attack, President Biden, for the first time, authorized Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia with long-range missiles supplied by the U.S. Now to the new developments.
In the updated version of the document, aggression against Russia by any non-nuclear state, but with the support of a nuclear state, is proposed to be considered as their joint attack on Russia. Russia will also consider the possibility of using nuclear weapons when receiving reliable information about a massive launch of means of aerospace attack and their crossing of our state border. This includes strategic and tactical aircraft, as well as cruise missiles and drones, hypersonic and other delivery vehicles. Russia reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in case of aggression, including if the enemy, using conventional weapons, poses a critical threat.
Israel, real news real quick. In an effort to escalate the war between Ukraine and Russia before he leaves office, President Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to use long-range U.S. missiles deep inside Russia. The use of these missiles will require direct involvement of U.S. military and NATO officials in the war. The Kremlin held an emergency meeting Sunday night. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he'll use nuclear weapons against Ukraine if Kyiv attacks Moscow.
A lot of you are not going to like what I'm about to say, but somebody has to say it. The last 4 years under the Biden administration has been the most destructive years in American history. Biden said on national television a few days ago with President Trump and told him that this was going to be a peaceful transition. But yet, a few days after that interview, you gave Ukraine authorization to use U.S. military missiles in order to strike inside of Russia. I told y'all on my video a few days ago that side, the left, has been very quiet, and this is possibly why. So many prophets was coming out, y'all, before the election saying that they seen Kamala winning, that they did not see Trump in office, and this is possibly why. Although he was elected president, if the move that Biden just made put us in a situation where we will be seeing WW3, this is why those prophets seen what it is they were seeing, okay? So some of us might be owing them an apology. All I'm going to say after this is, Joe, you did it. You finally did it, Joe.
The United States never fights anybody who can fight back. We're cowards. So, yeah, America's moral authority hasn't existed for decades with the policy of the United States over the last few decades, and that would be to completely destroy the Middle East. Donald Trump is owned by the very same interests that own the U.S. Congress, and the policies are to continue to destroy the Middle East. And aside from that, the United States never fights anybody who can fight back. We're cowards. We don't pick on people who can fight back. There is a very big misunderstanding amongst the people of the world who don't have psychopathic, sociopathic qualities. See, for those of us who have any level of humanity, we don't want war. But there's a big problem. Those who are in charge actually have a major incentive to have war. Now, the bankers who run the world, literally by having an infinite supply of money, while us dupes allow ourselves to pay interest, we are continuing to flirt with a third world war. It seemed that people in World War II realized, especially with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that we could not do this a third time. But apparently we've been cast under another spell and seem to forget that we do have the capacity to destroy this planet. Now, those of us who have any kind of sanity and humanity realize the dangers of this, but those who are running the world through the control of finance have a major incentive to incite war, because more important than the money that they control is the most important parameter of a tyrannical system, a tiny minority ruling over the masses. And that principle is you will never be able to rule people if you cannot divide them. So you must divide them. What divides people more than anything else? War, mass murder, horrendous crimes, torture. Things like that are good in the view of a banker. So
this is not democracy. This is a game. And it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003? Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, oh, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell that war to the American people. Abe Schultzke, if you want to know the name of the PR genius. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually. You know that? It's weird. And the way it is that Netanyahu had from 1995 onward the theory that the only way we're going to get rid of Hamas and Hezbollah is by toppling the governments that support them. That's Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And the guy's nothing if not obsessive. And he's still trying to get us to fight Iran this day, this week. He's a deep, dark son of a bitch, sorry to tell you.
Shit is about to hit the fan. I think we're going to have a major announcement within the next 2 weeks. I don't think Donald Trump will ever be sworn into office. I think we're going to find out about what will be considered and called the crime of the century. I think we're going to hear about this soon. I know we only really have about 2 weeks until elections start having to be certified. I think we're going to see some crazy shit happen. I think everyone needs to get prepared. There's no way they're just going to let this go if everything I'm seeing is accurate. So get prepared. Shit's going to hit the fan.